Hi dolls, and welcome back to Destined for a Little Extra. So for me, in order to maintain a healthy lifestyle, I have to meal prep. And I especially meal prep lunches. That way, I can just grab my lunch in the morning, I'm out the door, and I don't have to worry about trying to pack it at night the night before or trying to make something early morning before I leave for work. I can just grab and go. So on Sunday, I make 5 lunches for the 5 days of the week, and then I just grab and go and I'm out the door. I chose this week to make my healthy chili. And it's bitter cold out, and I just thought, what better way to, kind of beat the cold than to make a chili? But for me, I want to stay on the healthier side. So some of the things that I do to make my chili healthier is I sub out ground beef for turkey ground. In this recipe, you cannot tell a difference. So I put it in my saucepan with a little garlic and onion, and then I add diced tomatoes. These are just organic diced tomatoes, along with a can of tomatoes with green chilies. So this is just something I do to kind of add flavor. And then I let that simmer and I add potatoes. I don't actually add beans to my chili. I'm not a bean person. So in order for me to kind of keep it healthy but yet still stay flavorful, I do add actually 2 potatoes to an entire pot of chili, and it still keeps it low carb, but it adds in an extra texture in there and a little bit of just a little bit extra in order to be able to have that consistency of chili. The potatoes also a natural thickener, so it helps thicken up the chili just a little bit. Last, for spices that I add to my chili, did you hear that? That was my son. Yes, he's playing hockey, floor hockey upstairs. It's going to sound like, I don't know what's going on upstairs, like bowling balls, but life with boys, right? So I wanted to talk about chili seasoning. So I actually don't buy the prepackaged chili. We can't, because so many times we get gluten reactions from it. So I've just found the best way for me is to make my own chili seasoning. So I just use ground cumin and chili powder. Now you have to be careful because even spices can contain some gluten, especially if you're celiac. So watch that. You kind of got to know which ones to go for. If it doesn't say gluten-free, you want to be careful. But this is a great way to keep gluten out of your diet if you're watching that, and it's also a great way to reduce the amount of sodium. There is sodium, of course, in the canned food, but in those prepackaged mix, there's so much sodium and preservatives that if you just make it yourself, you can control what you put in it. So if you like this idea, this recipe sounds good to you, stay tuned. I'll show you how we make it. So the first thing that I do is I take my skillet and I add a little bit of olive oil to the pan. After my olive oil becomes warm, I add my onions and I saute until the onions are translucent in color. I'm really careful with onions because I find if I let them sit too long that they tend to brown too quickly and get burnt, like a burnt taste. So I always kind of stir very quickly my onions and till they are translucent and ready to be able to add to my chili. So after my onions are translucent, I remove my onions from the pan, and then I take and I add in about a tablespoon of olive oil. Now I'm really careful on adding this olive oil in because my skillet is hot. And so after I add in that olive oil, then I move on to my turkey ground or my ground turkey. I add in 1 pound at a time, 2 pounds total of ground turkey. And right when I put in that turkey ground into the skillet, it will start sizzling and already start to cook. And then I just lay the 2nd pound right across the top of the 1st pound and I brown it up to be able to add to my chili. Now, ground turkey for me is such a great way to make this dish healthier. Instead of using, ground beef where that has a little bit more fat, I am able to substitute ground turkey, and that ground turkey will be on the leaner side. I like to buy lean ground turkey, so as I cook this, I can tell that, it'll just have its like natural juices that are produced from it, but it won't actually produce a whole lot of fat. So I always take that turkey ground and I just move it around until it's browned to perfection. So as my turkey ground is browning, I take 1 can of diced chilies with tomatoes and I add it to my large soup pot. I also add 2 cans of regular diced tomatoes, and this is really the base and the start of making our chili. So what you can see off camera right now is I'm actually putting 2 potatoes into the microwave and cooking them for about 2 minutes. And this will kind of start the process of making those really starchy potatoes for the chili, which actually thickens it up. So I'm going to take those potatoes out of the microwave and I'm just going to set them aside and let them kind of cool off so that they are ready for when I need them in the chili. So I'm going to continue browning my turkey until it is all nice and brown and will be soon ready to put into the large chili pot. So the next thing I'm going to do is take chili powder and I'm going to add 3 heaping tablespoons of chili powder to my tomato and green chili mixture. And this was really what will give us that kind of quintessential chili flavor. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to take cumin. Now I have to be really careful when it comes to this because I don't necessarily love this flavor. So I am always careful with how much cumin I add. I always add 1 teaspoon of cumin, and that's enough. I thought about adding more, but really I don't love how overpowering cumin can be, so I do not add that, any more of that to my chili. So after I add in my spices, I come back with those potatoes that I had cooked earlier in the microwave and I dice them up into small pieces. And I add those into my chili as if I were adding chili beans at this time. So if you are a bean person, you could definitely add beans instead of potatoes, but I like potatoes in the chili. And then I take my meat, which is thoroughly browned, and I add it right into that saucepan that has the potatoes and the spices and the tomatoes, and I just stir that all together. And that is the foundation of my healthy chili. So I just make sure everything is all stirred up, it's put together, and then so that way it can just simmer on the stove and really let the flavors blend. I don't add salt and pepper until I am really done with making the chili. So since my chili is pretty much done, I come back in and I add in salt and pepper to my chili, and then this way I can make sure that the spices are exactly where I want them. Thank you for watching, dolls. If you like this video, please like and subscribe.